From the left coast, it's a show for the streets, strictly for the culture, strictly for our people. YouTube the views, log on and stream. Some news you can use with your host Chrissy B. Get familiar, yeah. Get familiar. Get familiar. Get familiar. You gotta get familiar. Yeah.
So you and I basically, you know, we go back. You know, we haven't like connected, of course, within it's probably been like a year or so, but you know, our history goes back to middle school. I remember, you know, override days, 6th, 7th, 8th grade. That's how we met. You know, our circle of friends, where we were in the midst of the same circle of friends, running with the same crew. So to kind of see, just to kind of remember just a little bit about what you were going through in middle school up to now. I mean, you have a story. You have a story.
A lot of people didn't know. Some people knew some details, kind of.
Yeah, and I don't even know. I really don't even know the full story. You know, I know bits and pieces of things. You know, of course, I was hearing things, and then I heard things from you. I would hear things from the streets, and I would hear things from you. But I only had bits and pieces too of what you were kind of going through. And I think anybody that was close to you at that time, you know, of course, there was only a couple that knew what you were going through. But as a child, it started very young for you, like your struggles, your
like
hurt,
12,
your pain.
13, how do you know, you don't know how to express yourself because you're going through it. And the hard part is people don't relate.
Yeah.
I think that's why me and Trevor was so, you know, so close, and you know, because he lost a brother and I lost a brother in '96. Although he couldn't understand losing a mom, most people didn't relate, and that's why it was so hard for me to talk to people, because it's like, how do I talk? And I'm seeing all my friends, they moms picking them up, they come into the basketball. Mine's not, like, you know what I'm saying? So a lot of people didn't.
And what age did you lose your mom?
8 or 9, 8.
So who raised you?
A plethora of people, actually. Okay. You know, I moved, you know, a lot of different households. So around 7th grade is kind of like when I started staying with Trevor. I kind of like spent the night one night and just kind of never went home. Yeah. So, you know, I was back and forth with them throughout, you know, junior high and high school, as well as juvenile hall, you know, and stuff, going back and forth to juvenile hall. So I kind of was all over. There was never really no one solid place. And I think with, you know, Trevor and his mom, like, you know, taking me in, I was kind of like home base, I guess you could say.
So you lost your mom. That's young. So when do you think you really start? Okay, so with living with Trevor and his mom, didn't that kind of give you like a family environment? Didn't you kind of feel like you had some type of family orientation? Why did you gravitate, or feel like you still had to kind of gravitate to the street? Like, what was the pull?
I was already in the streets. I started banging at like 12, so I was already, you know, actively gang banging.
From Inglewood, born and raised.
Yes, you know what I'm saying? So I was already actively in the streets, you know, due to, you know, being around uncles, just growing up, just in the environment. Like, it was a point in my time in my life where I thought that's what I was supposed to do.
Right.
Not even that I seen it and, I'm going to do it. Like, I just thought that was the natural passage. I just thought that was the natural route. My uncles, my aunties, like, I just thought that's what, you know, this is what I'm supposed to do. Like, this is where I'm, you know, okay, I'm going to be a blood. I'm going to do this, A, B, C, D. So, as far as, you know, the family unit, you know, now that I'm older in my 30s and I understand myself and life a little bit better, back then it was hard for me to accept love because it wasn't coming from the people I wanted. So losing my mom young, and there was nothing to replace that. And I was a mama's boy, so there was nothing to replace, you know, my mom not being there. So, you know, I don't care who it was. It could have been Jesus trying to love me. It still wasn't what I needed. It wasn't what I wanted. Even though people genuinely loved me, it was hard to be receptive or accepted because it wasn't coming from those. It wasn't my dad. It wasn't my mom. So I was hurting and didn't know how to tell people. So actually, I said, you know, I was envious of Trevor. Like, I seen, you know, the attention he got from his mom. I seen the bond, the special. So although I never let them know it or show it, like, it used to hurt to actually see people with their mom and parents because I didn't have mine. So even though she loved me, she didn't treat me no different. She called me her son. Like, that's, you know, that's my Aunt Lolita. Like, I love her to death. I'm thankful for her being in my life. But she didn't treat me no different. Everything they got, I got. Like, there was no, like, oh, these are my kids, you're just my nephew. Like, it was none of those things. It was, you know, if Trevor got something, we all ate the same thing, was treated the same way. The love was, you know, the same. It's just, it was hard for me to accept it and embrace it.
Yeah. And you played basketball too, didn't you? So
that
was your kind of your sport growing
outlet.
up.
Yeah, that was my outlet.
And you was good though.
Yeah.
And why couldn't you? I just always try to figure out like where did it go left? You know, like how come? Because and all your homies, you know what I'm saying, all of them are, you know, really successful athletes. A lot of them, especially coming from Overright to Westchester, you know, it's a flock of them that are now successful, have made it to the league or play overseas, and so we have been blessed to, you know, see them, you know, make it. You know, especially coming from and y'all know y'all all kind of run in the same neighborhoods and, you know, coming from the same hoods and communities or whatever, but where did it go left? Like how come you felt like you couldn't stick with that path or that formula of, you know, trying to play ball and really pushing that?
Honestly, I had too much anger in my heart. I just, you know, like I say, being older now, I didn't get it there. You know, people just always knew me as like, oh man, that's Roro. Like he crazy. Like all the antics and the fighting and the different stuff, they just chalked it up as that's just him. But not knowing that I had a lot of anger in my heart, I was just angry. So I wanted the world to feel what I felt, and I didn't know how to express it. And even though I was decent and pretty good at basketball, the anger blinded me from everything. Nothing mattered. Nothing. I couldn't accept love. I couldn't accept certain things, like because I was so angry. I hadn't yet forgiven my mom for dying. So I held on to so much anger, you know, because I always
forgiven her now.
Yeah, because I understand it wasn't her fault.
Yeah.
But when you're 10, 12 years old, 13, and your mom tell you she gonna come home and she doesn't come home, I always tell people she was the first woman to break my heart because she never came home. She didn't come home that night, and you know, I slept in her bed. I was waiting on her. I still remember it vivid. It was a Thursday night, 1993, May 28th. I'll never forget. Like I still remember those things. So for me, I held on to that anger, and I expressed it in different ways. So with basketball, the talent, the coaches, people telling me scholarships and all that, it wasn't enough. It didn't fulfill me, because for me, sports was just an outlet. It was something to do to stay out of jail. I didn't really take it serious. I didn't have no uncles or nobody pushing me behind me like, this is what you got to do. Let's go work out. Let's go to practice. You know, if it wasn't for Trevor, I really wouldn't even have played basketball in high school. After junior high, they gave it up. I'd have just been in the streets banging. But he like, nah, man, you gonna play. Like, nah, like he wouldn't accept me just, you know, just gang banging and going to school and not, you know, or dropping out. So basketball kind of helped me to graduate, whatever. So it was good for me. I just don't think it was in my cards to do that. I think I had to go through the things I had to go through in order to get to the places that I am now.
Yeah, and then you were in prison for 14 years.
Yes.
That's a long ass time. I mean, I don't know anything about that life. I'm not going to act like I do. I don't know what it's like for 1 second to sit in the cell. I have, of course, a lot of friends, a lot of homies, family members that have done time. But 14 years to be as young as you were, and you recently just got out in 2017. That's still, you just got out 3 years ago. Can you kind of open up or say what you went in for?
I went to jail for attempted murder. I had shot a couple guys one night. Everything's kind of happened, man. And that's the thing about life. People don't understand, like in the blink of an eye, it can change that fast. And what I mean by that night, our mission wasn't going out to, hey man, we looking for guys. We wasn't even on no gang stuff. It just kind of happened. You know, guys pulled up on the side of us and one thing led to another. Long story short, I ended up going to jail. It's something in my life that I don't necessarily regret. It was something that I believe needed to happen for me.
So how old were you?
19.
19.
Okay. I was 19. Like I said, I went to prison. I ended up getting sentenced and everything, and and I ain't gonna lie, it was a shock when the judge I knew I was getting the time because I ended up taking the deal and agreeing to the 14 years. So, but to actually go to court and hear the judge say, I sentenced you to the state of California, 14-year book, blah blah blah. It's like I didn't hear nothing else. It was just like my chest kind of like dropped, because it was like you start doing the math. It's like, man, I'm 19, man. I mean, I'll be about 32, 33. Like, wow, like, but. I was in a situation where there was nothing I can do. I was guilty. I did it. There was no, I had the witness was coming to court. So, for me, it was just something I had to accept. I've always lived my life by taking responsibility for what I do. I've never blamed nobody else. I've never, my situation was this, so this is why I did this. It's their fault. It's like, no, I accepted. I knew I was doing. I was conscious of what I was doing. Nobody forced me to do it, so I kind of accepted it.
Dang, whew, that's tough to hear. 19 years old, going and serving 14 years. Now, I want to know, what was your mental state when you were in there, like your day to day? Did you break down? Did you find yourself at your lowest? Do you feel like you developed a stronger person? Like, what was your mental state? And I'm just curious, because some break down, some don't make it out because they wind up committing suicide, or something happens, or they come out stronger. Religion changes in there. A lot of shit changes. Yeah. So what was your mental state going in throughout the process of you being serving your 14 years? It
was a lot, because that time period isn't a small time period. You ask anybody who's lived and they're conscious enough to remember, and then add 14 years to that. So I went through all the different growth points, that typical people from 19 to 32 would go through. But for me, I was able to sit down and learn myself. So I grew up I spent every day of my 20s inside a prison. I never seen a day of my 20s on the street. So I went from being a teenage kid, and I had to grow up fast because I went to maximum security. So at 20 years old, I'm in maximum security with guys who's been in jail 20, 30 years, all the murderers, all the, guys who violent crimes, assault with deadly weapons, carjackings, all the guys with life. I was with all the lifers. So there wasn't no time. You couldn't be a kid. You had to be a grown man. You had to conduct yourself like a grown man. So far as mentally, it was more so just remembering what I was fighting for, and I was going home. Like I had a date, because it's so easy to get caught up and lose that, because the gangs go on in there, the different things. But in prison, it's more racial. It's more, in California, it's about, blacks is blacks, and, Hispanics are Hispanics. The white guys, they do their thing. So it's a lot of riots. It's a lot of different things. So for me, I had to grow up. It wasn't no being no kid. I'm the maximum security. You won't survive. You won't last. You'll either be a torpedo or you'll be a victim. And for me, I told myself I'll never be a victim. And so sometimes that forces you to do things that you may not want to. Like, I hated the fact, when I reached the age about 28, 29, I hated waking up every day being something I knew that wasn't in my heart no more. But I had to, in order to survive.
Yeah.
You got to wake up and be a savage. I don't want to wake up and think about stabbing nobody or hurting nobody every day, but you got to, because of the environment that you're in. You got to be aggressive. You got to be this person. And at a certain point, that wasn't me no more. So I was torn between not wanting to be this person, but having to be this person. And so you go through a lot of different mental changes in there. And like you said, it could either make you or break you. I've seen a lot of dudes lose their mind. I've seen a lot of dudes end up taking a 5-year sentence and turning it into a life sentence. Like, I caught cases in prison. I had to go to court. I'm in jail serving a sentence, fighting another, court case. I'm going from the prison to a courthouse, fighting assaults or stabbings and different things. But, that's just a life. And I never really talked about it a whole lot to people. Like, even my girl, like, I don't, go into details about a lot of stuff, is because it's hard to understand if you haven't never experienced it. It's hard for me to tell you or kind of paint a picture and for you to truly grasp it, because you won't. And I tell people, you don't need to know about it, because you don't need to go there. You don't need to even take your mental space there, because that's only a space for people who are there and trying to either get past it or have to be there. And if you don't have to be there, so I don't never glorify prison, because I don't want people to think it's a cool place, because there's nothing cool about it at all. I wouldn't wish that upon nobody. It was a stepping stone in my life, and I had to get through it. I've never been a quitter, or I've never been someone who gives up. So I had to do it. I got the sentence, and through the grace of God, I made it through it.
An outlet for you, though, was music.
Or
some form of it.
Yeah, eventually.
Some form of it. So that was like kind of in the later years of almost kind of being released, kind of closer to you.
About 18 to 20 months prior to going home, because most of the time I spent in prison was just learning. I was taking real estate classes, business classes, reading as much as I can, trying to feed my mind. I wanted to come out better and more intelligent than I was when I went in. And people
and
always...
You didn't really have no... I mean, you spent your whole 20s in there. There was no structure. You didn't go to school. You didn't go to college. I mean...
No, I didn't go to college.
You had to kind of self-taught.
Yeah.
Or,
and I was self-taught, but then, they got college courses in there that you can take. Okay. So I ended up getting my AA degree and all those things. I ended up going back to school, which was, for me, was dope because I had the mindset of I have to arm myself with as much ammunition possible when I get out. Because when I get out of prison, I'm going to be young, black, on parole with 2 strikes in Los Angeles. You know what I'm saying? So it's like I had so many negative things against me that I needed to arm myself with enough armor to be able to combat some of the, the things that I had working against me. So, okay, you got 2 strikes, you on parole, but I'm intelligent. I have the mental capacity to put a business plan together and start a business and, get the finance, whatever the case may be, to do that. Well, if I didn't have that and I stayed with the same mindset, then now I'm just a gang member on parole out here with no tangible skills to contribute to society. You know what I'm saying? So if you don't have no tangible skills, then what are you going to... It's people with degrees, with masters who can't find a job. Yeah. So here I am, just an ex-gamer on parole with no skills. You didn't learn nothing, no trades, no nothing. So, for me, it was just more so preparing myself. When you get out there, you need as much as possible because you're going to be up against it.
Yeah. So I want to go back to the music. So you kind of was like on the Sugar Freestyle. You kind of was beating on the table, like Absolutely. Creating instruments with your mouth.
Yeah.
You had like a whole bunch of homeboys, surrounding you. All of y'all was kind of like a group, and y'all just was rapping and making beats with your hands and on tables, and you kind of created something that actually people gravitated to. I remember watching the videos on Facebook, and I was like, this shit going up. Like, you was really in there being very, very creative with what you had in that space.
And I didn't even know what I was doing.
Yeah.
Like, that's the crazy part.
That's the natural talent that you were able to kind of bring out that you had in you.
Like, it wasn't no plan. Like, I ended up getting a cell phone. Most people, they want to talk to girls at night, they homies and stuff. And I literally had a phone just to be able to post music and find beats and, look up music going. I learned about Google because, going to prison in 2004, it was like, we were still chirping. Like, my first time sending a text message was in 2010 in prison on the phone. Like, I had never sent a text message. Facebook, all that stuff, I didn't know nothing about it. Instagram.
Who started your Facebook account?
My brother, actually.
Okay.
My brother set it up. And it was like, yeah, man, this is Facebook. And I didn't know nothing about it. Like, I didn't, we only get so much news and, newspapers. So we're behind in prison. So, I ended up getting a phone. And like I said, I used it for music. It was my outlet to, prepare myself for when I came home, and the music just kind of came about. Like, I literally used to just freestyle, mess around, and just clown. And, my freestyle was more so, hey, man, we'll smoke a little weed, and, you know what I'm saying? And I'll talk about everything in the room or the guys or different people, and, hey, and they'll laugh. And, like, man, you was able to tell a story and put that together. And my boy one day was just like, you got serious talent. He was like, you don't freestyle. He said, one thing I noticed about you, you recollect and you speak from memory. You don't speak from like it's not made up. I know for a fact what you're saying is real. You know what I'm saying? Because I've watched you too many times. And he just used to be on me every day. Like, man, you should rap. I'd be like, man, I'm going to get out. I'm an entrepreneur. I'm going to start a business. Yeah. Like, I'm not going home to do that. I went in the cell one day. I picked up a pen. I wrote a rap. And 18 months later, I had like 700 songs.
Damn.
And it was just like, I knew that it wasn't all me. I said, this is something divine. This is bigger than me. So I always promised myself after, kind of throwing my basketball career away that I told myself, I promised God that I would never waste another talent. If there was something that I was talented about, that's why I go so hard with the music. That's why I hit the ground running when I came home, because I felt like, who am I to waste something that God gave me?
Yeah.
Who am I? Who are you to waste something that was bestowed upon you? Like, you know what I'm saying? And I'm not a super religious dude. I'm a Muslim, but like I say, I just believe that after watching myself lose scholarships, and like you say, speaking about all my buddies who's either made it to the league or overseas in the NBA, whatever the case may be, it was like, man, like, you used to hoop with these guys. Like, you was on their level, you know what I'm saying, at one point. So for me, it's like, okay, I got this talent with this music. It comes so easy to me. I'm able to write so many songs and do it. Who are you to waste it? So I went full-fledged, and I haven't looked back since.
And let's talk about 2017 when you did get out. Mm-hmm. So that's serving in 14 years. You're out now. Do you think you fully adjusted to being out? Do you think you're mentally still kind of stuck in prison, or do you think you adjusted to?
I say
because you've been in there a long time.
I say I'm about 80%.
Okay.
I say I'm about 80%. There's some things that still, kind of, that I run into situations. There's habits that I had to break. It took me a long time to break. Like even going to sleep at night, it took me about a year and a half. A lot of people don't know is I couldn't sleep. I remember sleeping in the house for the first time by myself. My first couple nights, and it was hard. Like I don't think I've ever spoke to anybody about this outside of Nikki. Mm-hmm. I hadn't been by myself as an adult.
Yeah.
I hadn't slept by myself. Even though I've had times where I was in the cell or in the hole by myself, you still have police that walk by every hour and look. Like it felt weird not having nobody looking. Like it's crazy. I was by myself, but I felt like people was watching me, but there was nobody there to watch me. I was so accustomed to being watched because even though they walk by every hour, there's still a gun tower. There's still, there's movement. So there's something going on. And to have that total freedom was like, it was scary. Mm-hmm. And I never really told nobody that. Like, so I had to adjust to a lot of different things because prison is day to day. It's 24 hours a day. It's the same routine. Everything is routine. So it becomes so much of your life. So the more time you spend in there, that's where they talk about institutionalized and all that. Like you truly become institutionalized because every single day for 13 and some change years, I did the same thing.
Yeah. So you were mentally kind of stuck in that space. So coming home where things are moving fast, Walmart, you got kids running around, you grocery store, and it's like people get close to you. People don't understand boundaries. You know what I'm saying? Like it was shocking a little bit. I held it well, and I think part of that was why I didn't really go out as much. I didn't go to events probably like I should have. It's just being around people was hard. People on the streets don't understand boundaries. They've never been to prison, so they don't, excuse me or bump you and stuff like prison. That'll get you hurt. Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So just having to adjust to a lot of different things. So yeah, since being home, I think I'm about 80%. I think there's still some things that I still have to adjust to, but it's just coming around.
But when you got out, was Murder Gang released in 2017 or was that 2018?
2017.
So that's pretty much the first thing you kind of got rolling once you came out.
Yeah.
But that was a big deal.
Yeah.
Because it was massive for somebody that just served a 14-year sentence.
Mm-hmm.
Like the aesthetics, the video that you did, you really put it together and really was able to kind of get that off the ground and drop something being fresh out. Mm-hmm. So how did you kind of transition yourself? That's a big transition going from, readjusting. Okay, I'm out now. It's go time. Like how were you able to kind of put yourself out there into that space to kind of get going?
I just spent a lot of time studying, and while I was in prison, I started to prepare myself. I'm, naturally, I'm a Capricorn, so it's in us to, we're perfectionists. So my thing is like, if I'm doing this music while I was in prison on these phones, like I said, instead of talking to girls, like I'm going on YouTube and not necessarily watching videos to hear new music, but just see what people are doing, what is in the world. Like I started with the Facebook. Now I'm starting to see what people like. What are the topics they're talking about? What are their posts? Like what's going on? I had been gone from the world. So, for me, it was like, okay, if you're going to do this, do it right. So people dropping videos and all this. So when I came home doing stuff and dropping album videos, and there has been guys out here 3-4 years wasn't doing that, and they're rapping and stuff they hadn't. And I just thought that's what you're supposed to do. Like if this is what you're doing, you're supposed to drop music. You're supposed to drop videos. You're supposed to go hard. So for me, it was just, this is what I'm doing. I went head first. I see what other artists was doing. So not necessarily from a competition standpoint, but just from this is what artists is doing. So this is what I need to do. I need to do a visual. And if I am going to do a visual, it has to tell a story. It has to make sense. So with everything I've done, I've wanted to get better, better instead of looking at the numbers. Oh, I want this many sales or that. It's like, okay, you did this, you dropped this. So the next time you drop something, how can you improve on that?
Yeah.
How can you become better?
Yeah.
How can your videos become better? How can the music become better?
Yeah.
Okay, you talked about this. Have you pushed the envelope a little bit? Have you talked about love? Have you talked about this? Have you, what I'm saying? Because you've been through a range of emotions and things in life. So how can you touch on it? Or if you have touched on it, how can you expound on it?
Exactly. And you've dropped, 2 or 3 projects since? Three?
Well, since the Murder Gang record and that project.
You dropped 2 last year, 2019, right?
Yes.
And then you're dropping one in January. So you're doing a mini series or mini documentary.
How
would you call it?
It's kind of, I call it a mini movie.
Okay.
So basically, what it is I have an EP coming out with 6 tracks. I took all 6 tracks and shot 6 videos, but it's a story tied into one.
That's so dope.
6 videos into one. So each individual song, the same way it's gonna play on an album, play each video, but each video is telling a story in one big, even though it's 6 different videos and 6 different songs you're going to hear, it's still one story. So it's basically taking you through the project. It's a visual project.
And without giving too much, like what's the storytelling about? Like what can we kind of expect from each story? So there's 6 songs. Mm-hmm. What can we kind of expect? Is this your story?
Everything I do is my story. Yeah. Everything, my music, what I've tried to be organic and real. I know sometimes you can parodies and play on things and different things, but for me it's like my music is a reflection of my life and what I've been through. I don't talk about nothing that I've never experienced or seen. So my videos are pretty much kind of like the same. And with this I kind of told my story a little bit. Each video kind of tells part of who I am and what I've been through, and it leads up. I give a little detail. It kind of talks about, it starts off with me in prison and, so it goes through that phase. And then it's like, it shows my transition of coming home and all the different things I went through. And with the music on this, I pushed the envelope a little bit. I got a song kind of about love and losing it and, loss. Like I tell people, I don't make love songs. I make real music. Mm-hmm. You know what I'm saying? For the street dudes, so for me, it's like each video and each song tells a story about my transition since I've been home and, just my life. And it leads up to kind of where I am now.
Do you feel like this is going to be like your biggest piece of work that you put out or your most developed piece of work since you've been out?
Yes, I believe that.
And when I'm looking at it, it looks crazy. Like what you send me, I'm like, this is it. Yeah, this is it. It looks the best way. It just looks clean. It just looks like some shit that needs to be on like HBO Max. You know what I'm saying? Some shit that we need to see on Stars.
Yeah.
It just looks really, really good, and the content just looks really well put together. And you look like you're finally not that you weren't, but like you're real polished. Mm-hmm. You know what I'm saying? You're developed. Mm-hmm. You're seasoned. Mm-hmm. It's interesting kind of seeing the growth and watching the growth just kind of since you've been out from 2017 to now, like what you were able to accomplish and how you started to where you are now. Mm-hmm. And I think that's what makes your story so great is because you were down 14 years. You came out, you came taking off. Mm-hmm. You had to learn it. And you're very independent. When you want something, you want it now. And if you can't get it done, you're going to figure out how to get it done. Yeah. I'm the same exact way. I think that's where we kind of like, that's our niche. And that's some real Capricorn shit. Like really being independent. I'm going to figure it out. This is what I want to do. So let me figure out how I'm going to get this done because this is what I want to do. Yeah. So I feel like that you figured it out. You finally figured it out. And I'm really like rooting for you and congratulations on this project. I cannot wait till it drops. Is there anything else that, that you want to share or that we can expect from you, at the top of the year? This year has been fucking crazy. Yes. 2020 from the start, from the death of Kobe to the pandemic.
That was crazy because I actually know Kobe. I actually talked to Kobe. Trevor. Played with the Lakers. Right. So, and that was his boy. He kind of like, what I'm saying. So that was kind of big.
Was heavy.
Yeah, that was
heavy. Tragic, and not just Kobe, his daughter.
Yeah.
I can't imagine as a wife losing my husband and my daughter.
When you're a parent, you're
never getting over that. You're never getting over that. And then there's still 7 other passengers I want to say that lost their lives too. Mm-hmm. And that was tragic to open up the year like that. That opened up our year, and then we ran into the pandemic. We're still in it. Everybody's lives have changed. Businesses have been shut down that will no longer that unfortunately will not be able to reopen. People lost their homes. People lost their jobs. Yeah. People have, a lot of people didn't make it to see another day.
And it seemed like it's only going to get a little worse because you got to deal with this rent and mortgage stuff coming in the beginning of the year, and will people start getting evicted, and you know what I'm saying, or will the government step in? So this year has been crazy, but throughout it all, I've tried to find a way to still progress, and because like I say, the pandemic, all the stuff I've been through, that's at least my, what I'm saying, my struggle. So
you say this don't even scratch the surface.
Yeah, so it's like I can't let this slow me down. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like,
yeah.
I can't. Yeah, we can't do shows. I can't perform in different things. So for me, it's about like, okay, that don't mean you can sit back. So that's where the movie kind of idea came in. So it's like,
but you're being innovative during the process.
Yeah,
that's
so
what it's about.
You know what I'm saying? So it's like, how can I still reach people? How can I give something to fans outside of just dropping another song or just dropping this or just dropping a video? It's like, what can I give people? You know what I'm saying? Even during this pandemic or what's tough and what's going on. So for me, it's just more so just I want people to see the growth, like you were saying, like you me finding myself, but expect me to always get better. When I do something, to expect me to grow, and for my core fans, I appreciate them and I love them because they're growing with me.
Yeah.
For the people who, like you say, watch me on the Facebook videos, beating on the table and beating on my chest, making videos and rapping to where I am now, like that's big, that's dope. And then even the new fans being able, like, to see the interviews and get to know Mannchester for those who don't know. And the people who even knew me who didn't know some of these things and didn't know, like I said, I got people been knowing me 20 years and, didn't know what I went to prison for, didn't know my mom was murdered, or, you know what I'm saying? Like, I had people like that I've talked to since I've been home, and they're just like, damn, I never knew that growing up. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? Because 13, 14, nobody's asking questions about your home life. Yeah. Like, nobody, where's your mom? Why I don't see your dad? Or, you know what I'm saying? You just kind of go to school and, we kick it, we talk, we might go to the mall or something, after school, but it's never really in, an intimate setting where it's like, okay, people are at my house every day. And a lot of people really just didn't know because I played it off well. I never really talked about it. I would come to your house, you would never come to mine, like stuff like that. So, for me, it's just about letting people see where I am now, letting them kind of end a little bit, not being so closed off. Instead of, for me, it was always, I express myself through my music. I shouldn't have to tell, like, if you listen to the music, you'll hear the story. Yeah. But now knowing that, sometimes you just got to give people a little bit of yourself. Yeah.
Well, I'm glad you were able to, you're healthy. You're being able to be innovative during this time. It didn't break you. It didn't break you. Mental, during this shit, during stuff like this really kind of tests the kind of person you are. Mm. This kind of really tests, your mental, your physical, and what you're really made of. And I think that for you, just watching and seeing, like, you top of the year, it's game time.
It's game time.
It's game time. And your project dropping January 11th. 2021. So that's, we're going to watch, we're going to look out for that.
Always stay down.
We're going to call it a mini movie. So 6 videos into one. Mm-hmm. Is there anything else that we can expect? I'm looking forward to that at the top of the year. We got
the EP, so we got the mini movie, and I'm still dropping the EP too, so you'll be able to listen to it on iTunes, Spotify, Apple Music, all those things.
And all your 2 other projects also are on Apple Music. Yes, so if you want to go back and listen to all the music prior to, the 2 albums are on Apple Music as well.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. So yeah, all that's on Apple Music. Just expect more music. Like I say, I'm working. I'm a studio junkie. I almost literally live in the studio. So I have my own studio. So I'm always in there. I'm always recording.
But you do other things too in the studio. Aren't you tapping in that engineering bag a little bit?
Just a little bit. I taught myself, no, I'm self-taught with everything. Yeah. Like I feel like that's the business side of me. And going to school and learning about business and everything is that. You want to cut the middleman. Yeah. So if you're going to rent studio time, that's the middleman is the engineer in the space that you're paying for. So if you eliminate the middleman and get your own studio, and you're going to need an engineer. Well, I don't want to pay an engineer because once again, that's a middleman. So I taught myself how to engineer. I taught myself how to record. I put recording to the side. Taught myself, spent about 6 months every single day, and got to the point to where I mix and master my own projects, record myself. I don't need nobody in the studio with me. I don't even like nobody in the studio with me. All my creativity comes from myself. Some dudes need a vibe or a bunch of people around, drink, stuff like that. Me, I just need to work because I know what's in here. I know what I need to say. I just need to get it out. And so for me, I engineer sessions for people and stuff like that. So yeah, I'm working on beats quietly. That's the next thing for me, because I feel like I always got to be doing something. If you're not moving forward and progressing, I feel like you're regressing. So if you're content with just where you at, okay, I know how to record myself. Okay, push the envelope. You make some beats. make yourself some beats now.
Yeah.
Like, so there always has to be a challenge for me, or I'll feel like I'm complacent, like I'm stuck in the same place. So I always got to push myself to the limits and try different things.
Well, I'm really proud of you. Like, honestly, I'm really, really proud of you. It's been a journey for you. And I think that, you know, I think you're coming out on top. You're coming out on top, and I'm really rooting for you. I can't wait to see how everything unfolds and what's in store for Manchester. What's in store for Manchester. And yeah, we're gonna wrap this up. But it was so nice talking to you. I'm glad we got to catch up. It's been a minute. It's been a minute. But we're gonna continue to stay in touch. Yes. You're gonna keep me in the loop.
Yes.
And just everybody needs to look out for that project at the top of the year. And that is a wrap.
Get familiar. Yeah. Get familiar. Get familiar.